This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. I'm here with film director, producer, philanthropist, and now restaurateur, Mr. Ivan Reitman. How are you today, sir?
I'm very good. It's been fun doing this. It's a little different than what I normally do.
Which leads into my first question. Why open a restaurant in Toronto and why now?
Well, my wife and I have a place right next door and we need a good place to go. And in fact, we've discovered, and many visitors to TIFF have discovered this, there's lots of kind of small restaurants in the area, but really there's no place to go. And go to on a regular basis where you're assured of really good, well prepared, simply done, terrific food in a nice, comfortable, energetic setting. And the Bitoves, who are local entrepreneurs, sort of came to me and said, would you like to try to do something together? And that's really how this came about. I suggested Jonathan Waxman. He was a friend who I've known for 30 years. My wife and I went to his wonderful restaurant, Michael's, in Santa Monica since that time.
Oh yes, yeah.
And it's just a wonder. It was kind of a revolutionary place that helped create the sort of whole new sort of California food scene. And philosophically, from talking to him, he's always presented the idea of what a good restaurant should be. And it was very much in sync to what my sensibilities were. And I recommended him to the Bitoves, and we've all become sort of partners in this.
How would you describe the overall philosophy?
It's really presenting really good ingredients, locally found, in a very simple way, not cooked in a fussy manner.
And you feel this is the right time to open a restaurant of this size, this scale, in Toronto, because there's been nothing like this for quite some time.
Well, it's our hope. We'll see. I know it's not an easy business, and I think it will. I'm sure it's going to take tweaking and adjustment, just like a good movie. You have previews and you make adjustments in the storytelling, and if we have to, that's what we'll do here. I think the good news is I've surrounded myself with wonderful professionals with a lot of experience in it. Jonathan and the local chefs that we've hired, like Matt Robertson, really are really terrific at what they do, are world class. Everybody from front of house to back of house has got worldwide experience, and it's our hope to deliver.
So I'm guessing that you two are the kind of local connection and the kind of conduit, in the way in which Jonathan is going to be able to contact local producers, suppliers, and the like?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the two of us were kind of selected to be in the position we're in because we're local, because we have that kind of ground network. And we had shared a similar philosophy to Jonathan about local sourcing, ethically, sustainably raised products. I guess we want to represent Jonathan in a similar sort of style to what he cooks at Barbuto, but also putting our own spin on it and having our own presence on the menu.
Now, how do you both feel about working for the original rock star chef? You, Gaetano, have worked for a celebrity chef previous to this, but how do you feel you're going to be able to translate his philosophy to Toronto?
I mean, for me, I think his philosophy it's very simplistic, like nowhere to hide kind of food. Just take the amazing ingredients, one or two things on a plate, and just showcase what it has naturally, and just try not to muddle around too much and just show its true beauty.
And you, sir?
I would say it's almost exactly the same as Gaetano. It's Jonathan might still be a rock star chef, but he's also a very approachable, very humble man, and he's got the same food styling that I think we do. It's kind of that Italian philosophy without necessarily being Italian. It's like Gaetano said, nowhere to hide. 2 or 3 things on a plate. You understand the sourcing of them, and it's just really simply prepared.
This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. I'm here with Chef Jonathan Waxman at Montecito, at least the construction site of Montecito in Toronto. How are you today, Chef?
I'm great, how are you?
I am fantastic. Now, I have to ask you, why Toronto and why now?
Well, listen, you know, I've been coming here for a long time. In fact, I first came here when I was 7 years old. And I remember, it's the craziest thing, but I remember the light in Toronto. My dad, I said, why is the light so special here? Because, you know, my dad grew up in New York State, so he kind of explained how it all worked. Didn't make any sense to me at that point. But a few years ago, I did a dinner with Ruby Watchko with Lynn, and she invited me up to do this benefit.
Yes, sure.
And she said, order whatever you want. I said, well, I don't know what's available. She goes, I got a forager. Talk to the forager and order some stuff that he thinks would be good. So I ordered this beef, and I didn't think about it. I roast in the oven, you know, like, and I'm not even thinking about what it's going to taste like, because I'm just hoping it's going to be good. And I started slicing it for the guests, and I taste one piece to make sure it's okay. And I go, oh my God, it's the best beef I've ever had in my life. So I slice a piece, put it on a plate, slice another piece, put it in my mouth, went back for it. And all of a sudden, then I discovered, talking to Lynn and everybody else, you know, the real bounty you have here. And then I did a TV show with Cecil Lee. Anthony Rose used to work for me.
Oh, really? Okay. Good friend of ours.
You know, and I Jen of the Black Hoof and I became friends. So I started coming up here a lot and hanging out with Anthony. He was introducing me to people, and it's a city I felt very comfortable with. And then out of the blue, Ivan calls me up and goes, Jonathan, I've been approached to your restaurant in Toronto. Would you like to come and work with us? And I said, sounds great. So we started talking, and we all hit it off, the Bitoves, Ivan Reitman and myself. And this came about. I mean, it was kind of a real sort of fluid process. It wasn't that difficult. And I felt comfortable with what was here. Listen, I've been buying stuff from Canada for years. I buy stuff from PEI, from Nova Scotia.
Oh, I see.
You know, New York is, you know, we plunder your greatest produce. Don't worry about it. And I bought chickens from Quebec, from Giannone. And so I felt very comfortable with what was available here. And because I had lots of friends, I figured I can get some good cooks here. And I didn't realize I could get great cooks here. And we've Matt Robertson, who's wonderful, and Gaetano is my sous chef. Got a great pastry chef. You know, it's really been fun. And now the real fun's going to happen. We have an open kitchen, great bars. We're going to have a bar menu. It's kind of my kind of joint.
So when I mentioned to my friends and my colleagues, my peers, that you were opening a restaurant here, every single one of them asks, well, if I go in there, is Jonathan Waxman going to be sautéing my chicken in a pan? What is the answer to that?
So here's the deal. I am 63 years old. At my restaurant on Barbuto, if I touch food that the guest eats, I'm not a good restaurateur.
That's a good answer.
You know, and my job is really to be a mentor, to be a good chef, teacher. I'm like the conductor of an orchestra. I don't play first fiddle anymore. I don't need to do that. What I need to do is make sure that my chefs have absorbed a little bit of my DNA, but they act in their own style, and they're able to be independent and wonderful. But they're seasonal. They cook simply. They cook elegantly, and they keep me in their minds when they cook. And that to me is everything. You know, and listen, there's no restaurant in the world where a chef is there cooking every dish. That's a fantasy. It's a great fantasy, but it's not a reality. And I think I'm very lucky that I have great chefs. I think we'll do a fantastic job.
Now, you're known as the man who brought Californian cuisine, or at least the Californian philosophy, to New York City. How does that translate to Toronto? Because we are looking at a different culture, a different country, and a slightly different climate.
I think Toronto and New York are very similar. They're both very international cities. They're probably the most international city of each respective country. New York and Toronto are very close geographically, and I think philosophically very close too. Toronto's a very, very international city. You've got lots of great ethnic restaurants here. I think New York and Toronto are very almost the same in a certain way. And so when I brought California food to New York, I had no clue what I was doing. But now that I've codified it and sort of made it, kind of almost an institution in a way, it wasn't that hard bringing it here. And California food's really about the grill, bringing barbecue from the outside backyard into a restaurant setting, and using seasonal ingredients. That's what California food's all about. It's Italian influences, French influence, but basically it's cooking food simply from the grill.
And how do you deal with the long Canadian winters?
Well, it wasn't so good in New York either this year. And listen, what do you eat in wintertime? You eat rutabaga, you eat parsnips, you do lots of grains. You know, you hunker down and eat stew. That's what you eat, and that's what you should eat in wintertime. So I think the whole question of seasonality really means to be seasonal and not try to serve raspberries in January.
Chef Jonathan Waxman, thank you very much for joining us at Good Food Revolution today. We wish you all the best with your new venture in Toronto.
Thank you very much.
Bye for now.